Justin Trudeau being accused of tyranny for his heavy-handed approach to crack down on the trucker protests. The Prime Minister invoking never-before-used emergency powers to try and stop the Freedom Convoy after being pressured by President Biden.
We are not limiting people's freedom of speech. We are not limiting freedom of peaceful assembly. We are not preventing people from exercising their right to protest legally. We are reinforcing the principles, values, and institutions that keep all Canadians free.
The Canadian government also going after the truckers' money by threatening to freeze protesters' personal bank accounts if they do not comply.
This is about following the money. This is about stopping the financing of these illegal blockades. If your truck is being used in these illegal blockades, your corporate accounts will be frozen. The insurance on your vehicle will be suspended. Send your semi-trailers home.
And Trudeau expanding money laundering and, quote, terrorism financing rules that deal with online fundraising. Protesters are calling it a power grab, but Trudeau is not backing off. I mean, there is another alternative, Jesse, like they could talk to the truckers and maybe come to some sort of
They don't negotiate with terrorists.
Since the provinces are already peeling back these mandates.
Right, yeah, they said Trump had a thing for dictators. What does Trudeau have? He's got a little bit more than a thing here. This is what happens during the pandemic. They kind of discovered these emergency powers that were tucked away into their constitutions. And so now they just declare everything an emergency. And then voila, emergency power. Compare everything to a threat or say anybody is racist, boom, anti-terror laws. And that's the problem. This is a sad day for North America, and we've had many sad days here in North America. We're not subjects. You can't rule us by force. Trudeau was doing the right thing up until this point in terms of action, not in terms of language. He was letting this play out peacefully, and that was going someplace, I think, until Biden got on the horn and pressured him to throw down against his own citizens. Congrats, Justin. You're the first foreign leader to ever listen to Biden. Good luck with that. These banks, I'm disgusted with this freeze.
Yeah.
Could you imagine you're a client of a bank and they freeze your assets because you're participating in civil disobedience? I wouldn't be surprised if I saw a run on some of these banks. I wouldn't be surprised if people just liquidated their assets, put it into another depository, because this is disgusting. Imagine you're a bank president, how nauseous you would feel taking an order from some low-life politician to freeze assets of your own clientele, your neighbors.
That you probably donated to.
Yeah. And then, so, I mean, come on, you're supposed to treat them like terrorists? These people are your own countrymen. That's horrible. And this isn't jihad. This is what peaceful protest should be about. Gandhi did it. The civil rights movement did it. They just sat down and said, deal with me. And that's what you're supposed to do. And this is what we want people to do when they have a beef with the government. So I wish a hex on Canada. I hope they have a terrible maple syrup season. And I hope their hockey team loses all the rest of their games this year.
You might want to check in with Greg about how that goes in Canada. Hey, you know what? Justin Trudeau is not a very talented politician.
No.
Because if I were Justin Trudeau and Biden called me and told me to pressure them, I'd say, fine, can we have Keystone Pipeline back?
Oh,
there
see,
you go.
that's how
Remember,
you
that was
deal.
the first day, and he didn't do it.
Yeah, you know, I'm going to go back on my initial point when this started. I am pro-trucker, love the semis, pro-Canada. But as an outside observer, I should always respect the country because I don't want a Canadian Greg Gutfeld demanding change in my country, even if, like me, he's 100% right and devilishly handsome. But I'm always like careful. I got to remember that it's easy for us because we're here. We're not there. So there might be some things we don't know about that we have to wait and see. Having said that, you're right. This isn't a trucker problem. It's not even a Canadian problem. It's a one-person problem, and it's the one person is Trudeau. He got off on the wrong foot. He chose the deplorable foot.
Yeah.
Instead of persuading, he denigrated, and he dug a hole for himself that's beginning to look like a political grave, because I don't think he has the gumption to admit that he should start over. Like, maybe it's time to start over. But if you look at him, I was, making jokes while we were watching him. His stature has shrunk. He's not a prime minister. He's like a bass player in a cruise ship wedding band. He's a teacher's assistant in gender studies at a local college. You know, he's a tour guide at Universal Studios who's never around. If he's the Prime Minister of Canada, then so is Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. This guy is done. And the thing is, I think he is done because the amazing thing is he's responding to a cry for freedom, and it could have been very easy, like the mandates are done, we're good, but he didn't. He went full deplorable, and you never go full deplorable. Ask Hillary.
You never do that, Judge.
You know, the idea that Trudeau came out and he said, look, what I want to do is I want to keep Canadians safe, and they're harming the economy, and they're endangering public safety. No, they're not. They're sitting there, and they're just protesting. And the amazing part of it is Trudeau is now going to listen to Biden. Biden now has the final word on what you should do if someone is protesting peacefully. Biden, the same guy who in the summer of 2020 decided that he would allow people to burn down, streets and businesses and create all kinds of problems and arson and criminal acts and police injured. So Biden's going to call this guy who is dumb enough to listen to him. And the saddest part of it is, when they start going after people's money, understand these truckers work very hard. They are salt of the earth. And they are not people who have a lot of money. They can't afford to protest. They really can't. But they're all about freedom. They're the heroes that we loved when we needed all of those things delivered to us.
Yep.
Now you're marginalizing them. Now you're really teeing them off. They haven't done anything. There isn't any kind of problem other than than maybe somebody had a flag. Well, that's going to happen in any group. But I think that this is going to get worse before it gets better.
Okay, one thing I was also thinking about this, I want to get your take on the financial piece in the time we have, but also the fact that these truckers and all the other essential employees were essential while everyone else that got to work from home waited for their deliveries, were able to go to the grocery store. Then all of a sudden, on January 15th, with the stroke of a pen, all of a sudden they're non-essential. And all of these other rules apply to them. And I think that was the straw that broke the camel's back. Yep. Give you a chance to talk about that, but also, do you have thoughts on the fact that about going after their money?
So I'm not bothered by this like you guys are for this reason. You have every right to express yourself. You have every right to engage in civil disobedience. But when you break the law, you're going to get arrested. When Dr. King broke the law, he went to jail. He wrote his second most important document, the letter from the Birmingham jail. It wasn't from the Birmingham convenience store. These guys here. Look, I don't necessarily agree with them not wanting to get the vaccine, but they have every right to protest. But when you interrupt and disrupt commerce, when you infringe upon, this is called tortious interference. The judge knows this as well. This is what they've done.
Arrest them then. But you can't freeze their bank account.
But Jesse, we've been on the show. We don't want it. Some people don't want to even arrest them. I'm just saying follow the law. I'm a rule of law guy. Now, if you believe that the vaccine mandate stuff should be reversed, and Trudeau, go to court. Go elect new people to the parliament or whatever you call it there, and go unelect Justin Trudeau. Now, when the people were protesting against George Floyd and they were breaking into stores and they were engaging in violence, I was on this network saying those people should be arrested. Those people should be held accountable. I came out saying defund the police very early was one of the dumbest reactions to any political crisis that we face. This here, you can't be partial about the law because you like what they're doing. They should be arrested.
It's about the bank accounts being frozen, Harold. That's what this is about. You don't do that. Arrest them if they broke a law. You can't freeze their accounts.
It's their law there in Canada.
No, they invoked a terrorism law for the first time ever.
Right, so he should be unelected.
They're not terrorists.
They are not terrorists.
They bring me cabbage.
But I'll say this.
That is terrorism after you eat it.
That's true.
They have caused $100 million a day in the last few days of damage to the economy. Now, I'm not saying you can disagree with me on that, but Justin Trudeau decided to act. I think anyone that breaks the law, no matter how legitimate or how genuine they think they're being about fighting a law, if you break the law, you got to pay the consequences.
Well, if they do get arrested and go to jail, I wonder if somebody on the opposing side of Justin Trudeau will offer to pay their bail.
That was wrong, too.
Maybe the Canadian Greg Gutfeld.
Yes.
Could pony up some Canadian dollars.
Yes.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.